This week, iOS updates, hacker charged with murder, a steaming vulnerability, to pay or not to pay, the ransom, Drupal is still vulnerable, freaking out over GitHub, and this day in something forever. Jason Wood from Paladin Security joins us for expert commentary this week, so stay tuned for this episode of Hack Naked News. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show that brings you the security news each week. And despite popular belief, we do wear pants. It's Hack Naked News.
The breach was huge news at the time.
Linux monitoring tool.
List of affected devices. You can check out the link in the show notes.
Ars Technica is reporting that hackers have cracked the Nintendo Switch this week.
Tracking people's locations and stuff like that.
You'll want to be rolling out updates if you're using Lenovo hardware. Do you have a website, an external presence, employees, an office? Any of these things can be compromised and attacked. How are you defending your assets? Have you penetration tested your public assets? Start 2018 by taking a proactive approach to securing your vulnerable areas. Black Hills Information Security has been helping companies find their weaknesses since 2008. Email consulting at blackhillsinfosec.com and see how they can help you sleep better at night. Welcome, everyone, to Hack Naked News, episode 176 for June 5th, 2018. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, coming at you live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. Make sure you check out the on-demand material. Our previously recorded webcasts are now available on demand. At least some of them are. And the latest one on endpoint security is up there. Make sure you go to securityweekly.com/on-demand and check it out. And now, the security news for this week, as well as a bonus story. A host of new security enforcements are coming to iOS and macOS. Apple announced on Monday that a variety of security and privacy features it plans to add into macOS and iOS operating systems, including encrypted FaceTime group calls, password management tools, and camera and microphone protections. The company also released a beta version of the upcoming iOS 12 that, according to Motherboard, all but kills off two iPhone unlocking tools used by police forces around the world. This includes encrypting your passwords as well in the feature list. It stores them in iCloud and then autofills them in Safari, which I'm actually hoping will help put a dent in some of the password attacks and get people used to using a password manager. I think that's a good thing. A hacker's been charged with murder after a worker dies in his building an underground tunnel system. In September, a 21-year-old Askia Kafra was found dead after a house fire in a suburban Bethesda home belonging to security researcher Daniel Beckwith. Now, Beckwith has been charged with murder in connection with Kafra's death. Prosecutors say Kafra had been hired to construct an intricate network of tunnels below Beckwith's home. The story gets even more bizarre as there was a fire, which was the result of an unconventional construction setup, which included a so-called daisy chain of extension cords to provide power for the equipment. Significant amounts of trash were also found that had accumulated, making it difficult to escape from the home. Very, very bizarre story. Decade-old remote code execution vulnerability found in the Valve Steam client. And I knew I recognized Valve because I was a big Half-Life fan back in the day. But this security flaw is a heap corruption issue with one of the Steam client's libraries, an aspect of the code which dealt with fragmented datagram reassembly from received UDP packets could be triggered remotely and utilized to execute malicious code. Packet fragmentation reassembly is tricky business. Steam is, of course, the gaming platform that allows users to download, purchase, and play a variety of games online. Has millions of users. You can go read more about how many millions of users there are on the internet, but it is a popular platform. 1/3 of business decision makers would pay hackers ransom demands rather than invest more in security. Now, this is, no was my comment. 1/3 of global business decision makers report that their organization would try to cut costs by considering paying a ransom demand from a hacker rather than invest in information security. I think your investment in, well, I'm not an investment expert. I have been doing the security thing for a little while. My advice is to not pay the ransom, and I will stand behind that. I would much rather see you invest now before there is an attack. Invest in a good backup system. And the advantage there is not only will that help you if there is a ransomware attack, it also helps give you great protection in your IT department and protect your data. It has all kinds of benefits just by implementing and investing in a good backup product. This could be one that backs up to the cloud. This could be a local solution, which are available for all size businesses. So I suggest that you do that instead. Facebook is accused of giving over 60 device makers deep access to its user data. Facebook, of course, is now in hot water again after being embroiled into controversy over its data sharing practices. It reads, it turns out that Facebook had granted inappropriate access to users' data to more than 60 device makers, including Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, BlackBerry. Are they still around? Samsung, according to a lengthy report published by the New York Times. The social network giant stuck data sharing partnerships with at least 60 companies so that they could offer Facebook message functions like buttons, address books, and other features without requiring the users to install a separate app. Everyone is complaining. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people who were on GitHub are complaining now that Microsoft has bought GitHub. And I tried to dig into what people are really afraid about. If you have comments, please send it to us, psw@securityweekly.com. However, reportedly, the fear is that Microsoft is hostile to open source. I want to stop you right there. That's what the article said. I have not noticed that analyzing industry trends, specifically with Microsoft and cloud and open source. I think Microsoft is embracing open source and Linux. And we've covered a lot of stories that can back that up. 48% of all Azure installations are Linux, I believe is the number. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, Linux is now part of in the operating system in Windows 10. And now they've recently acquired GitHub. And now people are up in arms. So back to the article, that their fear is they'll do something with GitHub, although exactly what it is isn't clear, to undermine the open source projects that depend on it. I think that's the old stigma that we have with Microsoft. So comments that were seen on the internet, there's stories reported from Ars Technica, as comments were also seen on Slashdot, Reddit, Hacker News, suggest not any specific concerns, but a widespread lack of trust, at least among certain developers of Microsoft's behavior, motives, and the future plans for the service. Look, my opinion is this is a good thing. I don't think Microsoft is going to take a swing at open source. I think they're embracing it. And I think that what you will see as a result of their purchase of GitHub is likely tighter integration into Azure and deployment services that are bundled with Azure. Over 115,000 Drupal sites are still vulnerable to Drupalgeddon 2 exploit. Hundreds of thousands of websites, including those major educational institutions and government organizations around the world, have been found to be vulnerable to that highly critical flaw dubbed Drupalgeddon 2, which was released almost 2 months ago. Security researcher Troy Mersch scanned the whole internet and found those 150,000 Drupal websites. So if you're one of them, you might want to start patching now. And my whole thing about this story is if you can't easily auto-update your platform and add-ons, you might want to consider a different platform. Now, I realize that these platforms might not have been chosen by the central IT department. They may not have the blessing of security. They may be part of shadow IT in your organization. I think that if you can provide a platform that is automatically updatable, WordPress has taken that step, although I don't know if that's much better in terms of security, but having a platform that is easily auto-updatable, that maybe if someone does get a hold of in your environment, it doesn't sit out there on the internet vulnerable to exploits such as the one that hit Drupal. In our last story is today in hip-hop history. I've decided to choose every once in a while an off-topic story when there's a lighter news week and talk about today in, sometimes it's technology, today in hip-hop history, or pretty close, June 3rd, 1997, Wu-Tang Clan released their second studio album, Wu-Tang Forever, and was certified 4 times platinum by the Recording Industry of America on October 15th, 1997. Each disc in the double album counted as a separate unit for certification purposes, which is interesting. It sold over 2 million copies in the United States. It is the group's highest-selling album to date. Upon its release, Wu-Tang Forever received favorable reviews from most music critics and is one of my favorite hip-hop albums of all time, in case you're wondering. So with that, we will take a break, come back with Jason Wood from Paladin Security. Stay tuned. Today's determined attackers easily bypass even the most advanced network defenses. Trying to ramp up staff to detect their backdoors can cost thousands of dollars and take months, even years. With Active Countermeasures AI Hunter, we enable junior analysts to detect even the most advanced backdoors in a matter of hours. Sign up for a demo and purchase our product today by visiting activecountermeasures.com/HNN. Active Countermeasures. Make every analyst a hunter. And we are back. Just a quick announcement about SERI. That is the conference coming up here on June 16th, se-ri.org. It's a conference all about social engineering happening here in Rhode Island. I will be speaking. Most of the Security Weekly crew will be in attendance, volunteering, and or speaking. We have 2 tickets to give away, so send your best meme. That is a photo meme of Paul and Larry. It can include others, but it has to include Paul and Larry. That's me and Larry Pesci. And send that to psw@securityweekly.com, and we will pick a winner for 2 tickets to SERI. Also, if you want to know more about user and entity behavior analytics, finding which solutions in your environment actually help security and which ones don't, and being able to measure it. Make sure you check out Logarithm's webcast, which was based on a survey that we did. It's going to be interesting. June 14th, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. You'll be able to find the registration link at securityweekly.com/logarithm. Alrighty. Wu-Tang is here forever, as is Jason Wood. Well, maybe not forever, but at least for this expert commentary segment. Jason, welcome.
Hey, Paul. Yep, I'm here today and not going anywhere.
And don't disrespect the Wu-Tang. Sorry, carry on.
Not at all. Yeah, so today's commentary actually came from an article I spotted on Threat Post. It was titled, Federal Agencies Face Uphill Battle in Cyber Preparedness. And because this is about federal information security, there will be gratuitous use of cyber throughout this commentary.
Warning, we will use the word cyber.
Yeah. So the title of this probably doesn't shock anybody who's worked in IT security or cybersecurity or whatever it is you want to call that. Basically, the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, and the Department of Homeland Security have released a report that says, lo and behold, the various agencies of the U.S. federal government are not ready to protect themselves from attackers. And, like I said, this is not terribly...
Most corporations probably aren't either.
That was actually where I was going to be heading to.
So when you said it in the sentence, I was like, yeah, well, okay, join the club. I mean,
yeah,
really
exactly.
Is true, I mean, anyway, ready. It's an ambiguous term. Like, who's really ready for what you don't know about? I mean, we try in security to be ready, but ready anyway, carry on.
So yeah, they had some interesting numbers I thought I'd bring up. As unsurprising as maybe that statement is, and as far broadly as we could apply that across every organization, this report came out of an assessment that OMB and DHS did, and they came out with the determination that 71 out of the 96 agencies they looked at have their programs at risk or at high risk of basically not being adequately protect themselves. As a quote in there, they said that the agencies are not equipped to determine how threat actors seek to gain access to their information. So they really don't know what to expect. They don't understand it. And as a result, they're not allocating their resources or allocating resources and getting things that they need to address that. One of the things they commented on, and actually in this article from Threat Post, was that out of 30,899 incidents in 2016 that led to some kind of compromise of information or system functionality, in 11,802 of those instances, they didn't even have enough information collected to go back later and identify how they got compromised, what happened.
Yeah, that's the scary part. I mean, it's one thing to make a broad statement that says we feel vulnerable, right? It's yet a different thing to know where you're vulnerable and know where your gaps are. And I was kind of hoping this report would shed some light on, well, yeah, it's bad. Like, we've got some vulnerabilities and exposures, but we're working to identify them. It sounds like they haven't even done that in a lot of these various areas.
Right. And, actually, this isn't a very technical report, but it is points out some issues that I thought were really, that struck me. One of them, actually, they didn't even really highlight very much as an issue, which we'll get to here in a bit. But basically, the report came out. They said we need to do 4 different things to address this issue. First, we need to increase cybersecurity threat awareness among the agencies. Right? That sounds, if you don't know about it, we need to start there, I guess. Standardize IT and security capabilities across the agencies to control costs and improve their asset management. Okay. Consolidate SOCs. Now that could be interesting. Politics wise, but somebody coming in who's not necessarily your organization, your agency, can be a bit of a problem. But maybe you can train those centralized SOCs up a bit better and get them to be able to recognize things, know what information or what monitoring needs to be put in place to get them what they need.
Yeah, and that's a great suggestion, Jason, because it sounds like a similar but greatly expanded model, right? When you have a university and you've got multiple schools or departments, you have to apply security. Maybe they've got their own SOCs or IT and security people, right? Government has that problem, but at a much greater scale. And so your suggestion of using training and awareness and information sharing is certainly the similar tactic that I would recommend for a university.
Yeah, it's one of those things I look at. I start going, that would make sense. Like the training. We have a core area where we can train people, get experience consolidated, things like that. Again, politics is an issue in any type of big organization, and the federal government is a monster. So that could be definitely a hurdle for them to deal with. And fourth, they said drive accountability. And this one made me raise an eyebrow, by improving processes and doing more risk assessments. I'm not sure how that's going to improve or drive accountability. Now, I can't say I've done testing in federal environments, right? And
if you did, you couldn't say if you did either.
I can't say where or anything like that. None of them were very exciting, but I've experienced some of these issues. One of my favorite stories is been in scanning for most of a week and have somebody from the SOC stick their head in on like Thursday and say, "Hey, are you guys doing any scanning?"
Yeah, we have been.
Like,
3.5 days
actually,
now. Yeah,
24 hours a day for the last 4 days. But like you said, Paul, a lot of other agents or organizations outside of the federal government suffer these issues as well. And I don't want to doom and gloom on all of the people working at the federal agencies, because I know some of these folks and they're smart. They've got to work within the environment that they're in. I do think that, like I said, we were talking about improving the SOCs, making sure that we have some information sharing and stuff like that could really start to improve some things. One of the things, though, that they commented on as an issue, or it kind of like a side, they made a comment in justifying a larger issue around accountability. They said that CIOs and CISOs and the agencies don't even have authority to make decisions about their organization and implement things, which I looked at was an absolute monster of an issue.
Well, and I think
if you have really aware people, they can't do anything.
Well, and a lot of CIOs and CISOs are in that position of maybe responsibility without authority, maybe influence without authority. And we actually just covered this exact topic on Business Security Weekly on Monday. And we had Christian Hammer. Did I say that last name right? I hope I did. Christian Hammer from Harvard. And that was great. And it addressed some of these issues that we have here, Jason.
Yeah. One of the article from Threat Post went on actually to comment, got a little bit into some of the politics around the Trump administration eliminating the position of the cybersecurity coordinator on the National Security Council. But you kind of wonder in some cases we get these coordinators or czars or whatnot, they get stood up, and they, even if you had somebody who was great in there, they don't necessarily have much authority to make things happen. So That's one area I think a major area of improvement could be done is, I mean, if we're going to hold people accountable, let's give them the ability and the authority to make some things happen, and change and responding to trends and stuff like that is something that in large organizations, and the federal government is certainly one of those, moves slowly most of the time. So I think that's one major area that they could improve on that the report didn't even really call out very much. The report is kind of an interesting read. I've got the link to it here in the show notes. Oddly enough, as you'll see, go into the WordPress site that hosted this this press release. We definitely, I think, like I said, it drives home the idea. We've got some issues inside the federal government, and some things we can certainly start to talk about, some specifics that would make some improvements. Other areas, I think, where the people need to be granted authority to do their jobs, do the things they're hired to, and be backed when they try and make a decision to address something. So go take a look, and if you're out there in the federal space, good luck.
That's it. Thanks, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this edition of Hack Naked News. See you next time.